way. It's just like impossible for her. And you know what, really, like how you said she's the happiest person. Wasn't it very telling that at the sit down that we witnessed last week, her lawyer said she's been more stressed these last 3 years than she was going to prison. What does that tell you? I mean, stressed over what? And I've seen a couple of bloggers point out, like, Teresa personally has nothing to be stressed over. All of her stress revolves around who? Her husband. And it's true, you guys. I have been on the phone with her. I've heard the screaming matches. I've heard him rip Jim Leonard a new one. I've heard her throw her phone out of anger because he will walk into the room and he works her up like no other. He did it in front of Melissa Feaster. Like, we've witnessed a lot in regards to this man. He is like a problem child who is like right at your feet, telling you this, wanting that, needing this, stressing that. And it's like you're at the point where you want to rip your hair out and you want to like tell the guy, shut up, go away. Like, I was on the phone with her one time in the car and I could hear him. He was on the phone with someone and she had to stop our conversation like about 6 times, David. And she's like, Louie, stop. It's stressing me out. Stop. And he goes and goes and goes. And at one point he was just like, leave it be. Like, it's a constant with this man. So I don't know how she hasn't lost her mind, but I totally believe Jim Leonard saying she's never been so stressed. He's a headache. It's a
And
lot.
and this is her soulmate. She can't separate the fact that she has no problems on her own. She makes a shitload of money, has 4 daughters that are doing well, 3 in college. She can't separate and say, I made a mistake. Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I think she has too much pride. I think she will sit there and take his stress and talk about how she's so in love, love, love with him. Because the day she has to admit to the whole world that everybody who was warning her was right, that would be the biggest defeat to her ego. And I think she will just like continue to take this because it is an abusive way to live. It really is. He is draining her mentally, emotionally. He like yo-yos with her. It's crazy. I remember she got on Ozempic. She lost a lot of weight. And I remember, and we saw a little clip where Melania was in the kitchen with him and he talks about how her ass is little. Do you guys know that when she was in Hollywood for an event, I think it was a Variety magazine event, it was one of those events where Larsa, her boyfriend, were hanging out with them and they were going out to dinner. Teresa was like trying in a hurry to find a doctor because she wanted to get a BBL because Louie kept telling her butt was little. But at some point, it was Louie who was encouraging the Ozempic. So it's like, okay, do you want her skinny? Do you want, and when she got her boobs done, I mean, and I will put this out there because I'm not holding nothing back. When she recently had got her boobs done, it was right before the Variety 40 top reality stars awards that she went to where she like rekindled with camera. She got her boobs done. And I remember she told me she wanted to go one size smaller because her frame was so tiny. Guess who wanted her to have those big old boobs? Louie. So I don't know. It's just crazy, you guys. Like, that relationship, I don't see how she is still functioning. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of up and down. I do believe if anyone on the inside still really genuinely loves her, including like her kids, they would have already like, I'm not saying her daughters don't love her, but I just don't see how anyone has not stepped in and said, please get away from this guy because he's doing a number on you. But
That's
again, it's a lot.
that's
It's crazy.
sad. And it's like, actually, we talked about this before once. It's like her need to prove that she's right is making her miserable.
Well, yeah, and I even remember Kim D said all she ever knew growing up was like, the way her dad, like his character. I think she said it on your podcast all the time. She was used to a specific like love in regards to men, and her dad was a specific way, and she'll take it and she'll fake it to make it.
Wow, what a miserable life. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like, it's just, and it's a throwback, but she is old school. That's what
Yeah.
she was taught.
Well, and I have a current like example that we're and you know what, it was leaked through their camp that they do show it at the finale, and I want to talk about this because here's another current example as to how Louie is stressing her out. Teresa, and now this is tea for tonight's episode. Teresa had told me that she filmed with Louie. I think they were in her bedroom. They filmed a scene where he was like, hey, so this was the day of the finale, and they were filming Teresa and Louie, and he's like, how you gonna handle Margaret? How's, how you gonna go about all that? And she's like, well, I'm just gonna sit back, watch it all like play out or whatever. And he was like, all right, all right. And then he goes in and he says, she was like, Gabriela, and this was after they filmed the finale that evening, that lunch, it was a luncheon, so they filmed at lunchtime. That evening, David, I got a call from her, and she carried this from the moment she filmed with Louie all the way through the night. And she was like, I was filming with Louie, and we were talking about Margaret, and he said something, Gabriela, and I pray to God they don't air it. And I said, what did he say? And she's like, he said that he hopes for nothing but the worst for Margaret and her family. And I was like, why would he say that? And she's like, well, because he's angry. He's been so stressed over everything. I said, but Teresa, like he called and threatened her son. And now he's saying this, and I'm pretty sure it was in a threatening way because she was stressing over it, David. And she's like, oh my God, I don't want them to show it. I don't want them to show it. They're going to come for him. Like, it was a bad scene. And Louie must have said it in a very sinister way because it stressed her out. I mean, it was like 2 a.m. her time, and we were talking on the phone. And she just was like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do. Well, based off of tea from within the camp, they showed it on tonight's episode when they went to the rails party and the watch party. So I was just like, well, there's another stressor. It was 2 a.m. and what was she doing? Complaining to me about something her husband said. I mean, it's just the constant stress with this guy. And actually, David, I have some tea from within the camp because we all
I
know
have,
who has the big mouth.
we all know who has the big mouth. I have one question. So tonight you've heard that like that scene is in there where they're in the bedroom and Louis says, I wish nothing but harm for Margaret and her family or whatever. Like that's
Yeah, based off of my notes, she said that they were filming and he was asking her about how she's going to handle Margaret. And she's like, I'm just going to sit back, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if he said it in that specific scene, but that night she told me that he filmed with her. And it must have been that scene, unless they filmed another one. I didn't get details other than I would just listen and write. But she says that he says he wishes nothing. He hopes for nothing but the worst for Margaret and her family. And I have a feeling, well, we do know that they showed it because from within her own camp, they leaked that during the Rails watch party that, because it was in place of the reunion,
yeah.
that she was stressed the fuck out, that they showed it. So, what I was going to tell you, the tea is that this is recent tea, that they were so worked up that they aired it. And this is, I don't think this is out there anywhere, that Louie and Teresa are going to address this on her podcast to do damage control. So look for that, you guys, on Teresa's pod. They're going to address what they aired about what he said about Margaret.
Well, if they're gonna do so, what they're gonna put like a podcast out after tonight's episode, whatever day her podcast comes out, I guess.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, they went to the watch party and they saw that they aired that scene that freaked her out. And they knew it wasn't going to land well with the public. So probably because she's in Greece right now. So probably before they left for Greece, they recorded something. And we're going to